Emily, hey, congratulations on your new book, The Nightmare Before Christmas, Beyond Halloween Town, just in time for the holidays.
I mean, that's not an accident that it's come out around this time of the year, but I think it gets you a little bit excited for Halloween and Christmas, doesn't it?
Well, I do have to admit, I have the book right here. It is a beautiful book from beginning to end. And, the way how you write it, the pictures, everything, a lot of people should definitely do pick it up, especially if they're fans of The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, thank you. That's really nice. I'm glad to hear that people are enjoying it.
Most excellent. So tell us how you were brought on board to a project like this. I mean, what was the inspiration to write this book?
Sure. So I had written a book called Disney Princess Beyond the Tiara, and that book was looking at sort of what inspired those characters and then what did they inspire in pop culture and what was their legacy. And after we had finished that book, it hadn't even come out yet. My publisher at the time was thinking like, is there another Beyond book? Could we look at something else in the same way? And the idea was maybe we could look at The Nightmare Before Christmas because it was going to be the 30th anniversary. It was something that had a lot going on, but maybe it had only really been talked about in kind of a making of way. Like there's been a making of book and we all understand the stop motion, but we maybe didn't know why has it endured for so long? What has endured? What have fans done with it? What has Disney done with it? And how has it become this kind of pop cultural juggernaut that just keeps going? And so that was sort of the inspiration, was to look again at what had inspired the making of the film, but then what has it inspired over the past 30 years?
Wow. So what was the research process like going into this book? I mean, what I mean, this was pretty extensive.
Yeah, I really love researching. I was literally just before this call being like, I need another book where I can research like this. It's really fun because so I obviously rewatched the movie a bunch of times, just remind yourself fresh eyes. Then I looked at anything that had been written or made about the film. There'd been a couple kind of smaller documentaries, one about the props that was on Netflix. There's been a few books written about it, not a ton. And then I started interviewing people. So Tim Burton was one of the first people that I interviewed. And then just going through the list of like who worked on the movie, who voiced the movie, who worked on the music, who made music based on the music from the film after the film came out, who were experts on the film, talking to music journalists of the era, film critics of the era, film historians, and then talking to cosplayers and fans. So it was like a rabbit hole that I just kept really going down. And then there's just a lot of that kind of looking for stuff that it's inspired. So maybe someone tells you that a lot of food has been created that's inspired by the movie. Then you start looking on Instagram for Jack Skellington cupcakes, and then your algorithm changes, and then all you see is Jack Skellington cookies and cupcakes and food. So it's actually quite fun to see how far the film and the characters have gone.
Well, I do have to admit I am a bit jealous that you did talk to Tim Burton. That is for sure.
He didn't disappoint. He had one of his dogs in the background. Such a nice guy. Just, yeah, it was great. All I ever wanted.
Now, there are so many interviews incorporated in this book. Was there anyone else you wish you could have included?
Yeah, we went out to every possible person between me and Disney Publishing. They helped me with some of the kind of bigger people reaching out to them. But I mean, I emailed everyone I could find. The one, I think the elusive one was Billie Eilish, who's a really big fan of the film and has sung the songs from the film live. Her team did write me back. They were really, really respectful and nice about it, but I think she just didn't feel that she wanted to do an interview for the book, which is absolutely fine. And we have her photo in the book, which is great. But I think that would have been fun to hear her take on it. So that was actually a few musicians that I never quite got a hold of. But the beauty of a book like this is you write it and then it has to go through so many rounds of like laying the book out, copy editing. So there was time to add more things in. So like Blink 182, I got them at the very last second. I mean, the very last second. I didn't even think I was going to have original quotes from them, and then they came through. So I think actually the book contains more interviews than I was expecting it would have.
Wow, that is terrific. Well, tell us about the decision to include influences in pop culture from the film into your book, because from my understanding, there's like a personal connection. Like, how did this film influence you?
Yeah, I think anyone that grew up with the film, I think felt a resonance with it because it was sort of, it felt a little edgy, it felt a little bit alternative. It was about outsiders, it was about people who were misfits and didn't quite fit in and were looking for community. And that really hits with teenagers, I think. For me, growing up, like the Sally character felt really resonant because a lot of teens feel very angsty, especially teen girls, very angsty. So I always thought that the film hit on these really relatable points while still being really unique. And I'm not surprised that it has continued to connect with people for so long, but I am surprised the reach that it's had and the sort of way it's translated into pop culture. So cosplay is obviously very popular, and I'm not surprised by that at all. But I was surprised to learn the extent to which people have weddings themed around the Nightmare Before Christmas. I mean, it's really interesting, and there's some beautiful photos we have in the book of people's weddings and engagements, and they're so creative, which the movie is so creative, so it makes sense. But I mean, you would have never thought 25 years ago there'd be weddings themed around Jack and Sally. So that I think was really fun to see how it connected with everybody in a certain way, but then everyone has interpreted it and embraced it in different ways. So it means different things to different people. And some people do their nails, with Sally's patchwork, or they make the Jack Skellington cupcakes, or even the way that Disney has merchandised it, that you could buy a crock pot or a cheese board. I mean, I think that's so amazing that if you're really into fancy cheese, but you're also into this movie, you can combine your loves.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I found your book so insightful because you included that debate. Is this a Christmas movie? Is this a holiday Halloween movie? I love that debate. Tell us about that inclusion.
Yeah, well, if you ask some people, apparently it is a year-round holiday. Disney markets it as a year-round holiday now. There are people who celebrate Nightmare Before Christmas, Thanksgiving. How, I'm not sure exactly, but I think the Christmas versus Halloween debate is really essential to the film. It was originally released around Halloween, purposely, I think, but it has since become an annual tradition for people around both holidays. And everybody kind of has the one holiday that they're like, it's Halloween, it's Christmas. For me, it's Halloween. It's always felt to me like more of a Halloween movie. But I think that debate is really important because again, it goes back to why it resonates with people and how they embrace it, how they celebrate it. For some people, it's, this kind of creepy and eerie vibe that fits with Halloween. And for other people, it's sort of a warm-hearted Christmas theme and they decorate their tree with Jack ornaments. And I think it's nice that the debate is ongoing. I don't think the book lands on a certain side of the debate, although my personal opinion is that it's a Halloween movie.
Now, I want to note that you are a true fan of this film too. So, what are some of your personal collectibles of this film?
Well, I'm actually not someone who collects things. I'm someone who gets rid of things. I try to not own things, but I will say that growing up, I did have this film on DVD, and I also had a very beloved copy of Burton on Burton, which was a book where Tim Burton talked about his own work, which was a great resource for this book because it has since been added on to with more of his films. But I mean, I battered that book to death. I loved reading from his point of view what he was thinking about when he made all of these movies. So unfortunately, my house is not full of Jack Skellington's, although if anyone wants to send me anything, I'll take it. But yeah, I think for me, it was more of it was kind of like a memory that I liked to carry around, if that makes sense. It's something that I think you can hold with you because it meant something to you growing up.
Most excellent. So, let me ask one last question here. I've taken a lot of your time, but you know, as a journalist, are there other films that influence you also? And are you planning more books down the road?
I'm currently in the process of another book that I can't talk about. It's a different sort of book. It's me ghostwriting for a celebrity, but I am always thinking about different film books that I could write. I have so many ideas. There's so many movies that I would love to write about. And it's just kind of finding the right one and the right fit. As you can tell, a lot of them come out around an anniversary. So that's how you have to think about it. And you also, that anniversary can't be like next year. It needs to be like 5 years from now. And then you start writing the book. So it's a challenge, but I'm in the process of coming up with what will be the next project.
Most excellent. And I'll let you have pitch the last word. Where can anyone find this book?
You can find it any online retailer. I don't know if I'm supposed to shout out Amazon because they're so big, but you can get it on Amazon. But if you go to my publisher's website, which is Quarto, they have a link to all the different retailers. And yeah, I'm happy if anyone gets a copy of the book anywhere they can find it.
That is terrific. Emily, it's a pleasure speaking with you. It is a great book to anyone's collection. Now this is part of my collection. So thank you very much, Emily, for carrying this conversation with us.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me. It was really fun.
Terrific. Well, hopefully we get to do this again.
Yeah, next book.
That's right. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.